Hello, welcome. My name's Phil Taylor and I'm from BodyLanguageMatters.com. So today we're going to look at 9 ways to tell if somebody's lying to us. We're going to look at 9 non-verbal cues that could give us a clue into why this person is lying to us or if they're lying to us in the first place. But before we do that, we need to understand the context of the lie. So what is context in regards to lying? Well, context is everything around that person, so where they are, who they're with, what they're saying and how they're saying it. I think it's really important when we think about lies and people lying to us that we understand where they're coming from. So it almost like putting ourselves into their shoes. Why are they lying to us? Why are they telling us this story? What do they get out of it? But before we get into that, we also need to understand that every day somebody lies to us. We even lie to many different people, and it might just be a white lie. It might be the idea that we're telling a story and we embellish a little part of that story to make it sound that little bit better, or if we're selling something, it might be the fact that this is the next greatest thing, or whatever it might be. But just to bear that in mind, that everybody lies throughout their life, throughout the day, just to make things a little bit easier. And sometimes some people withhold information from us just to make it, just so we have a bit of experience in our lives, and maybe you don't need to know everything. Just for an example, if you've got children, you'll withhold information from them just so they don't get upset, or it might just be a bit easier to do that. So bear that in mind when you're thinking about analysing somebody for the lies. So now we've understood that a little bit, now we need to understand the baseline. So what is a baseline in a person? So a baseline is simply this: how do they act before and after or during the lie? So a baseline is, how do they act before they tell the lie? Are they doing things like this, scratching themselves? Literally, that was a genuine scratch. Do they have any tells? How do they breathe? What you're looking for within the lie is the shift, the structure, the shift within the body language and the communication. Do their voice go up? Do they go down? You know, how they use their voice daily in their interactions. We also need to look at clusters and how a cluster will shape the lie. So a cluster is a shift within our body language, in our non-verbal communication, and also in our voice and what we're saying. So we're looking at shifts from their normal baseline to determine if that person's in high stress or when they're telling a lie. So now we have to look at the 9 different ways in which somebody would lie to us with their non-verbal tells. The first one is avoiding questions. So if you're having a conversation and it's quite a serious one, and somebody you throw a question out, where was you at this time, and they totally avoid that question, then we can say that, you know, something's up there. That's a data point we need to remember. The next one is they make themselves the most important topic. So if somebody's avoided a question and they talk about themselves, talk about their own credentials, how they feel, then we know that something's wrong within that context of that conversation. Another great one, and I think this is the third one, is swaying from side to side. We call it a chained elephant, I think. And so when you see somebody swaying from side to side and they wasn't doing that prior to telling the lie or telling a story, we know they're in high stress. It's a high stress situation for them. Another great one is duper's delight. Now, duper's delight is simply this: when they've told the lie or answered your question and they smirk at the end of it, they think they've got away with it, and it's an automatic thing. You'll see it across the face. We've got a great video example of that coming up later on in this clip. Another great one is when somebody becomes over polite, when they call you sir, madam, or you know, they're just being, or they're on the P's and the Q's, so the please and the thank yous, when they're just becoming over polite for no reason. Every sentence they say thank you or sir or madam or whatever it might be. We've got another great clip of this as well later on. You'll see this in an example. The next one we need to look at is blink rate. Now, you don't need to know what your blink rate is, or anyone else's blink rate for that matter. All you need to know is if you see a blink rate happening and it's faster, right, than whatever normal might be, if you just notice it and they're blinking a lot as they're in a conversation, they're in high stress. Now, this is one they can't hide. They can't hide the blink rate. They just can't hide it, which is crazy, because no one actually consciously thinks about their blink rate until you say it to them. So this is it's an unconscious movement within within the brain, and if somebody's lying or in high stress, the blink rate goes up. Another great one is fading facts. So when we talk about fading facts, is once they've answered the question, they go like this, and it's lower, the lower tone, the lower the tone of the voice, and that's fading facts. We've got some great examples of that later on as well down the road. Another one is head shame, so hanging your head on shame. I think that's number 8. Hanging your head in shame after they've told the lie. You know, this stems back from childhood when we've all told lies and we've just hung our head in shame. We still do that as adults as well. And the last one is the breathing rate, or where the breathing shifts. So they're breathing from the chest or the stomach. So people who are more relaxed tend to breathe from the stomach, and people who are more high stress will breathe from the chest. And you'll see this shift from sort of lower stomach into the chest. Anyway, they're the 9 examples. So I'm going to share with you right now some clips with all these examples in. What you need to bear in mind is this isn't real life. Well, it is real life, but hopefully you'll never find yourself in these positions where you're being interviewed about a murder or a kidnapping, that you're involved in. Hopefully not anyway. So these are high stress environments, but I've took out a few clips where we can see these as examples. So hope you enjoy this. We'll give you some narration around these as well. Thank you for listening. Please check out BodyLanguageMatters.com. What we're about to watch is about blink rate. The lady on the screen is doing an interview about a missing boy that was in her care. Her name is Teresa Balboa, I think. But right now we just want to look at the blink rate. She's being interviewed, so it's a high stress environment, and I just want you to pay attention to her blink rate. Just watch as she talks, and that's what you're looking for when you're engaging with someone. How stressed internally are they? And the blink rate is one of the ones that will give it away.
No, all we can do is keep searching and doing, everything we've been doing, and we're gonna continue to do it. You think he's definitely alive? Oh yeah. We just keep picturing.
So you can see that the blink rate is extremely high in that short amount of time. I think that's 15 seconds, and you count around about 60 blinks in that 15 seconds. So that's what it looks like when people are in stress. Obviously that's a different environment that we're ever going to find ourselves in, but it gives you an indication of how fast that's going. And you're looking approximately around about 60 blink rates per minute, and the lower the blink rate, the more engaged that person is. So just be aware or relaxed. So just be aware of blink rate. Another missing case of a missing boy who was found murdered. Pay attention to the guy on the left and listen to what he's saying. Every statement is about him, and then towards the end you'll see fading facts and a head sort of bow out.
What's really sickening is that people is making assumptions, thinking that I have something to do with it, that I have her manipulated in some way, which that's sickening to me also, because he loves us. We ain't never do nothing like that to him.
So you can see fading facts in there, and the head bow right at the very end, and everything's about him. In reality, if your child was missing, you wouldn't be thinking about you at all. You'd just be purely on the child. But that's just an example right there. If you don't know the case, basically he killed his whole family. But I wanted to highlight this clip because you'll see him swaying from side to side to self-soothe himself. It's a chained elephant effect.
Pick something up to where it's going to lead to something.
What happened? Your wife came home and tell me what's...
She came home from the airport 2 a.m. and I left around 5:15. She was still here, and about 12:10 in that afternoon, her friend Nicole showed up at the door. I had texted Shanann a few times that day, called her, say, but she never got back to me.
If you notice people swaying like this when you're asking them questions, it's a high tension again. Again, you got to look at everything in context and clusters of information, but I just wanted to highlight that idea of swaying from side to side when asked questions. The guy on the right asked a direct question, the guy on the left totally avoid it. This is a clip from the internet called The Generic White Male. The guy on the left has arranged to meet an underage girl, but it just gives the example of the question and the direction it goes. Really short.
What are you doing here today?
Is this some kind of setup or something?
We'll just play it again.
What are you doing here today?
Is this some kind of setup or something?
So you can see he doesn't answer the question, totally avoids it, doesn't want to know. If you hear that, then that's a data point that you need to remember. Clip is Jupiter's Delight. The lady is answering a question about a crime or something that's happened to her. Watch at the very end. A bit disturbing, this one.
Reaching her hand out to me while I'm driving, and the blood just keep coming out of her mouth. And that, maybe it'll fade too with time, but I don't think so. That haunts me the most.
Crazy, man. Jupiter's Delight. Look at how polite the TSA officer is. He's been accused of stealing an iPad and tracked it to his house. Watch this.
Take it? No, sir. You did not take it. No, sir.
But after setting off an
So you can hear quite there, no sir, no sir. And that's what you're looking for, anything over exaggerated. I mean, if I've just been accused of stealing something, I don't know if I'm going to be saying, and I haven't done it, no sir, no sir.
alarm on the missing iPad and asking him to search his house again, Ramirez produced it.
You found it. There it is. Okay.
You notice he's changed his shirt as well. He's at his uniform, and then now he sort of blames it on somebody else. But there you go, that's over politeness. Just pay attention to these little things. Like I said, these clips are just designed to show you what to listen for or to look out for. Obviously these are in exceptional circumstances, and that's not going to be for the majority of people who watch this. Now you know the 9 non-verbal tells. That's not all of them in body language. The one thing that I would say that you need to bear in mind is that you need to read in clusters of information, and you can't just take 1 or 2 of these if you see them in a conversation and know that person's lying. You really need to take 4 or 5 and use them as data points. We can never actually really tell 100% if someone's lying to us, so there are no absolutes in body language, but we can take a best guess. You know, you got a second sense as well, so use all these this information to get ahead, to understand if somebody's lying to you, and try and put yourself in their position. Why would they want to lie to you? What do they get out of it? Before you even jump ahead, and don't accuse people of lying until you're absolutely solid and you've got solid evidence. And even then, I just wouldn't accuse people of lying. I'd just keep it to myself and know what I think, and then move on from that conversation or move away from that person. That would probably be the better things. Anyway, thank you for watching, and please check out BodyLanguageMatters.com.